All right, everybody breathe with me. Calming circle.
In through the nose, out through the mouth.
All right. We ready?
Ready?
Trauma Uncensored.
Trauma Uncensored.
Trauma Uncensored.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trauma Uncensored. I'm your host, Brooke, and today's show is an exciting milestone for both myself and this podcast. So we've been on air now for, 5 months? We launched in June, and I want to give a shout out to Andreas. He has been amazing. He's been an amazing coach. He's been my Mike B all along as I've told my story. And the podcast has grown exponentially in just those 5 months. And it's super exciting because we're bringing on guests now. And, we're kind of shifting from me just solely talking about my story and starting to bring new people in, or people, listeners and connections who are coming in and sharing their own story. Because obviously I can't run a podcast just telling my story and all of my stuff forever. And it's great to be able to bring in people and different stories, different traumas, different griefs, different losses, different mental health awareness. And so today, I am bringing in the three ladies that you have previously experienced on Trauma Uncensored. Michelle is here, Lindsay is here, and Melanie is here. So if you guys haven't listened to their episodes, go ahead, or I encourage you to go back and listen to all three of theirs. And if you're new to the podcast, we'd love for you to go back and listen to the very first episode that details out why I'm here, what I'm doing, and what my goals are for this podcast. So in 2016, our son, Logan, who was 9 at the time, was killed by a distracted driver. It was a very horrific crash, lots of carnage. Our family has been through litigation, has been through a legal battle that set a precedent where the man who killed our son, he is now serving 30 years in prison for distracted driving. And so in the very beginning, I detail out all of that, and there are family guests that are on. We each talk about our experiences, and Melanie actually, what's it been, about a month and a half ago, right? Melanie was our first guest, and then Michelle, she's got a 2-part series. Melanie's second part series will come out next week, actually. And then Lindsay has been our most recent guest. So here we are today. A couple disclaimers. We do talk about grief, loss, trauma, mental health challenges, but we also talk about survival. We talk about how to move forward with what life throws at us. And note that the only actual clinical therapist here today is Melanie. I am not a therapist. I just play one on TV, but I do believe that I am a therapist by life experience. I've learned a tremendous amount, and I love sharing that with the audience. I get a tremendous amount of feedback. So thank you for everyone who's giving all the positive reviews. So if with having our first actual panel, so that's what actually is even more exciting than the fact that I am hosting for the first time my own show. That was the goal all along. Andreas got me set up. He's a wonderful mentor. I probably will not get this correct for the first few episodes as well as Andreas did, but I'm here. I've learned an immense amount. But what's really exciting is our panel today. So we have these wonderful ladies here. I've got some topics, some question and answers that we're going to try and get to all of them. But really, I think we're going to try and focus on one topic in particular. And then we will have these wonderful ladies back to keep paneling as time goes on. So if you or someone you know would like to be a guest, want to share their story, please send us an email at hello@traumauncensored.com. I am currently booked through, today is Halloween, and I'm currently booked through the end of November with slots starting to fill up in December. So email us there and we will send you some questions and a link to the schedule. You can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok. We are on Facebook and YouTube. The shows can be found on Apple Podcast. They can be found on Spotify and YouTube as well. So you can catch us all there. So be sure to follow us. Be sure to check us out. Also, just one final note, we are going to be talking about a lot of things in the panels and individual guest episodes. Any sort of links will be shown in the show notes that you can find below. And I'm also going to start adding in, Melanie, and I actually talked about this yesterday. I'm going to start adding in some links, some Amazon links for resources. Additional on top of, I know Michelle has sent us some for her purposes that intertwine with her story. We have highlighted Lindsay's. Melanie has a whole bunch to share. So alongside of those big resources, we're going to start also including some resources, just Amazon links that you guys can go and check out that might be helpful along with you in your journey. Okay, ladies, and I'm going to breathe. That was my very first intro.
You did so good.
Very first intro, very first solo hosting. I'm so excited to see where this goes now. We've been working toward this for so long, and honestly, I can't believe that it's grown this fast so quickly to where I'm here.
Awesome.
I did not anticipate this being something that I did, going solo. And Andreas was actually like, "Oh, thank you. I get to free up some of my time now because he doesn't have to sit in on me or sit in with me." So, all right. So before we begin, I have a really important question to ask. Actually, it's a two-parter. Given that today is Halloween, how soon will your tree go up? And when will you begin listening to Christmas music?
Oh gosh.
I mean, this is a very serious question.
It is very serious.
Very serious.
Yeah, my tree will go up maybe December 1 or 2. We go away to the lake for Thanksgiving. So we'll put it up when we get home. Christmas music, honestly, I don't like to listen to that until ever, really. I will put it. My family, we have huge Christmas traditions. We've been doing the same things, listening to the same music since I was a little girl. The same CDs, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton Christmas. So I will listen to that when I decorate the tree, and I will listen to that when I take the kids to look at lights. But other than that, that's about it. Might throw in a little bit of Anne Murray Christmas nostalgia, but other than that, that's it.
Yep. Favorite in this family, in this house, favorite. Whoa, did we talk about the Mariah Carey? Oh, no, I was talking about that with Danielle yesterday. My favorite Christmas album all my life has been Mariah Carey's. And we're all the same age, basically. So it's, remember that one. But I love Michael Bublé. I love his album as well.
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer the other two questions until I hear the other answers to see if anybody aligns with mine. All right, Lindsay, what about you?
Yeah, so we're usually the day after Thanksgiving. Tree goes up, and I'm kind of with Mel. I love a good Christmas song, and then I can get over it real fast, right? So having little ones in the house, it's like on repeat, and they really love the 12 Days of Christmas because I can't take it. It's a never-ending song at night, and they just love to bring that one. Yeah, so I'm mid-December for Christmas music.
You're like never.
Yeah,
right,
never
Michelle.
ending.
What about you, Michelle?
Okay, so I will put my tree up mid-November before Thanksgiving. I will do it before Thanksgiving. And music, I'm indifferent. I definitely will start listening to it when the tree goes up. And I don't have a extreme disdain or an extreme love. It's like, okay, whatever. But I am a Christmas movie junkie. It's like they have to be rolling.
Oh, we could do a whole episode just on Christmas movies. Oh my god.
We got Love Actually on repeat.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
There's so many.
The Family Stone.
Yes.
So many.
Family Stone.
All right. Well, mine, I align more with Michelle. Tomorrow being November 1st, the Christmas music will probably start playing in my car. My kids, Mallory especially, is like, when's it? She would listen to it all year round if she could. So we start listening to it fairly early. But the tree, we used to be a day after Thanksgiving family as well, but COVID changed all that for us. Like we were stuck in the house and um
Yeah, no.
the lights, we put our tree up early and then we wouldn't, we'd put it up, but we wouldn't decorate it until later in November. But then we will take all the ornaments off and just leave the tree up for, a couple months until it starts to warm up here in Middle Tennessee. And um but just it's the lights. Like the lights are my favorite part. My
Yeah.
favorite part. I love all the lights. I don't know. There's something about it that just creates this warmth and
Yeah,
feelings of
totally.
peace. So that kind of takes me into the topic that I thought that we'd talk about today, given that today is Halloween and the official start of the holiday season. Um, and again, if we can get to the other topic that I was hoping to get to, we will do that. Otherwise, we will have you guys back very soon. Because I think the other topic to talk about is really important. So let's start with the holidays and let's see if we can get into the other topic too. But, for people who have experienced loss or trauma or grief or any of that, the holidays can be extremely, extremely hard. I remember the night of the crash of our crash. I was laying in the hospital and I thought Christmas will never be the same again.
Mm.
Christmas, like, what do I do about Christmas? I've still got, another child, but how do I do that? And as time progressed, it became more of a um oh, okay, well, now it's the holidays. Like I remember the first Halloween after Logan passed, which was just basically a month and a half later, and Mallory was still in her wheelchair. So we, took her around trick or treating in the wheelchair, and then it becomes Thanksgiving, and all these holiday traditions that we had and things that were important just didn't seem right, especially in that first year. Um, but as time has moved on, it's changed and it's molded and it's softened, but it still doesn't feel like I still, because I have two young kids. Well, I guess Mallory's not really considered young anymore. She's a teenager, but I do have a 6-year-old too. It's keeping the decorating and, all of these traditions. We've made new traditions, but trying to keep it alive for them. But if it weren't for them, I don't know that I'd really decorate, or, maybe the tree at Christmas and some lights. But, Mallory's got her room decked out in Halloween stuff, and she helped Mila do the same thing. And, I put stuff up down here and on the main level of our home, but I don't know that I do that. So I'm curious to know what you guys think, or what your experiences are. And I know, Michelle, you haven't necessarily experienced the loss like Lindsay and Melanie have, and I have. However, you still, in your trauma, I would assume, I'm going to imagine, that you still have some what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe some uh grief and feelings around the holidays, because I mean, you have been through the ringer with all of, the trauma and your ex-husband, and what was that like? And so I'm curious to hear, what everybody
Yeah.
else has to say.
Yeah, I can jump in. So, not having parents while they are still living on this earth, I don't have that connection for family tradition. We really never had them. When I moved to Florida away from Indiana, where all of my family is, I had to establish my own new. And like you said, Brooke went through a divorce here and figuring that out. Um, but what I've learned is family is what is who you make it, right? So I have been gifted this incredible family that isn't blood, but is chosen, which is even better, right? We've all had those family members that were like, ah. And we've established our own new tradition. So like Mel talked about going away for Thanksgiving, that has become, I know, one of our staples in our house, like to be together, all the boys together for for Thanksgiving. But I've talked a lot about my sister. So she and I also are super intentional about the time that we get to spend together. And the Christmas day is really hectic, right? The presents, all the things. And we would try to go up to Indiana for Christmas, but it got very overwhelming. So I go up like before Christmas and get to enjoy all of the holiday spirit and the events and the activities. So, and then my husband's family is here. So I've established routines and traditions with them. But I will say that while I don't long for that relationship with my parents, it does still get me at the holidays. Mother's Day is my least favorite day of the entire year because it's a stark reminder that I don't have a mother and I don't have family celebrating me as a mother. So it's an evolution, but at the end of the day, it's my boys that make the holidays for me.
That's great. Melanie and I talked yesterday, and I actually officially rolled out the first Trauma Uncensored podcast retreat. And I'm actually doing it. I scheduled it the week before Mother's Day. So people who, mothers who, could be having a hard time for Mother's Day or just to celebrate, I thought that would be a really good opportunity. So you brought up Mother's Day, and I think that's a really good segue into just briefly mentioning the retreat. Mother's Day for me, that's when the shit starts to hit the fan during the year. Because we used to have a tradition of going to the beach on Sundays. So we'd go out to Indian Rocks, and I know all of you are familiar with that, being from Florida, and we'd go out to Indian Rocks or Indian Shores, and we'd spend the day, and then we'd go get seafood at Krabby Bill's. That was our tradition every year. And Mother's Day for me is when the year really starts to kind of, because then right after that is Logan's birthday, then it's Father's Day, and then we've got the girls' birthdays, and then the crash anniversary and his loss, and then the holiday. I mean, and it all just kind of, I have to prepare myself, So the retreat, I think, is going to be really great. I think the timing is great for that because it'll be right before Mother's Day. So, people who are grieving, or even just a simple gift to themselves to go out and do some work and be able to reset and breathe. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for allowing me to throw that in. If once again, if anybody's interested in that, I will be posting stuff or information on that on our socials, and you can email us at hello@traumauncensored.com if you want more information. So sorry, that was just a little side plug, but I'm really excited about that. And, I think it will be wonderful. So
I'm excited.
yeah, it'll be good times. So with that, Michelle, is there anything else you'd like to add? No, but I think that's, I mean, I think it's very important because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, refer to people having a hard time at the holidays for those who are just grieving and don't understand or take into account that there's this wide range of community that, like you said, you didn't have the parents and, that were there in the traditions. And what's great about what you had to say was that you took your experiences and you shifted them to create a different environment, a different story for your boys. And I think that's beautiful. I think that is absolutely beautiful because, a lot of times we fall into these patterns of, reacting and responding and carrying forth what we're taught and what we're learned, or what we learn. But you were able to change that. And that right there changed generational patterning. It changes
Cycle breaker.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Lindsay, you want to go next? Or Melanie, I'm sorry.
No, go. Go,
Yeah,
Lindsay.
I think for me with the holidays, Thanksgiving has always just been my favorite. I love it. I don't know, it's just always felt very warm. But Brooke, like you said, with regard to Mother's Day, the rev up, right? So I start to feel that after Thanksgiving. So my birthday's in November. We have Thanksgiving. That's always very warm. And then it's like the lead up to the Christmas experience. And I found, I want to say early on, but also still, anytime it's family time and I'm doing something for the boys, it's really heavy that I'm also not doing the same for Christian, if that makes sense. So like when I'm going out and trying to find gifts for Bowen and Chance, and I have them top of mind, and I'm really trying to be purposeful in thinking about things that they would really love. It's so present emotionally that don't know what he would love. And in my cart, I don't have anything for him. And so it's that empty-handed feeling. I will say that Christmas Eve, the first Christmas Eve, and I didn't share this before, but the first Christmas Eve after we lost Christian, I had a miscarriage. So I was going into the first Christmas after having experienced that loss, and I didn't know I was pregnant and I miscarried. So it was like, so it just was very heavy. But I think anytime where you're missing a child in a circumstance where you're supposed to have them all together, like Mother's Day, that sort of thing, his absence is just so, it's heavier, I think. But we've started to do little things where we honor him, so we feel included. My mom always gets ornaments for everybody every Christmas, so she always has a new ornament to add to the tree with his name on it, and it's always something very special. So that has become the tradition where we all sit down and kind of open up Christian's ornament, and he gets to have his moment. So that's been healing, but.
That's good. And I mean, I'm curious too with you and Melanie specifically, and you've answered this question. How do you celebrate them? For us, we buy, an ornament for Logan every year as well. And we got into the habit of buying some sort of like Lego set because Logan loved Legos. I've been thinking a lot about that for this year though, because we have a ton of Lego sets that had his name on them or that have his name on them, but we've never gotten into them. So we're just kind of like sitting there with a whole bunch of boxes of Legos and yeah, I mean, maybe someday. So I don't know. I mean, he is 18. So what do you do for the kids that have grown out of all of the things? And I don't know. I have no reference in what I would buy an 18-year-old boy at this point,
Maybe still Legos. Yeah,
Legos.
We've got boys that still do Legos right now.
Yeah, my 18-year-old always has a box of Legos on his Christmas list.
That's good to know. Maybe
they're just the more expensive ones.
Oh yeah, I know.
The more intricate, more expensive ones. So, yeah, I know. Father's Day, obviously, here is always very, very hard. But we talked a little bit about this yesterday, Brooke. I lost Leon. We lost Leon in September, end of September. My birthday's in October. Thanksgiving was his most favorite holiday. When we first met, we had an agreement that I would give up Thanksgiving every year with my family to be with him and his family, but I would never compromise on Christmas. That because we have so many traditions with my family, so that was always our agreement. So Thanksgiving, he was the youngest of 8 siblings, so it was huge. Like Thanksgiving was huge for him and his family, and he loved Thanksgiving. So that very first Thanksgiving after he died, we did all go to Tallahassee where his family is, and we had his more traditional Catholic funeral. So that, that was really, really hard. And Thanksgiving for me has been something I've dreaded for years after losing him. I hated Thanksgiving. And I really didn't know what to do with myself or the family for Thanksgiving. And for a little bit there, again, we talked about this yesterday, Brooke, where I just was running 1,000,000,000 miles an hour to try to, keep myself extremely busy and ignore what was going on around me and ignore my feelings. And so for maybe 5 or 6 years, I just packed a bag and I took the kids somewhere. We went on a trip somewhere and never ate traditional Thanksgiving food and never did anything traditional with Thanksgiving at all, just escaped. And the boys thought it was great because they were traveling and they didn't know any better. But for me, I was just miserable and sad and just running from the real issue with really how to deal with that loss and losing our Thanksgiving tradition. And it wasn't really until, I don't know, Shell, how many years have we been going to the lake? 3 or 4 years. This will be year 5, maybe. 3 or 4 years ago where Michelle was kind of struggling around Thanksgiving. I was struggling around Thanksgiving, and really her boys and my boys just longed for family. And we said, what are we doing? Let's just make our own tradition. And Thanksgiving is now my most favorite holiday. Well, I mean, Christmas is pretty great, but we love Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving has been amazing. And it's just given my boys a sense of, aunts and uncles and cousins and all the things that Thanksgiving used to be. So Thanksgiving is now wonderful. But then again, right, like I said, right after he died, it was my birthday, his birthday's beginning of November, Thanksgiving. Then we roll into Christmas. Christmas for us was huge. It still is. It always has been, the matching pajamas and the ornaments and lights and music. And Leon and I always used to spend all day Christmas shopping for the boys. And I remember I don't remember that first Christmas. It was, I couldn't tell you one thing I bought, one thing I got, one thing we did. I remember being so unbelievably sad and broken that first Christmas. It's such a blur. I can look back at, my dad always takes videos and pictures, and I've looked at that video of that Christmas and it is like I'm not even present. I don't remember much of it at all. And then lucky for me, going into the new year, I hate New Year's. I still to this day hate New Year's.
It's my birthday. Stop hating it.
I know. I need to love it. But I
love
struggle
me.
with New Year's
I get it.
so bad. Oh man, especially at first, it was like, a new year without him, a new year of sadness and a new year of feeling lost. So New Year's is a huge trigger for me. And honestly, it wasn't until last year was the first time I enjoyed New Year since he died. And again, that was because I brought my closest friends to my house and we were in our jams and we ate grapes underneath the table at midnight and were silly and made TikToks and did silly things. And it was the first New Year's that I had fun. And then it's our anniversary. January 7th is our wedding anniversary. And then it's Valentine's Day. So like September to February, watch out. Like I can be kind of a hot mess during all of that time, but we do have a lot of fun. You guys were talking about ornaments. My mom does the same thing, Lynn. She gets us a new ornament every single year. And so we still hang Leon's ornaments and we tell the same funny stories surrounding the ornaments every single year. And we laugh just as hard as we did the year before. Christmas, we have definitely found the joy back in Christmas. I think after my mind wrapped around the fact that this is my new life and trying to create new normals, I think I can remember that Christmas before he died, we had no money. And we spent so much money on Christmas gifts for these boys. I mean, I don't even know, was layaway thing? Maybe we did layaway. I don't even know how we did it, but we somehow figured it out. We had the best time that Christmas loading our Christmas, our cart full of Christmas toys. But I think for me, one of the things that I really kind of shifted my brain around is it's not the things. It's not, buying the gifts. I really try to gift the boys experiences more than anything else. Because you can never, ever, ever get that time back. So I've kind of, although I will say, because I do buy less gifts because I try to do the experiences, I still get overwhelmed with, because I want to make it so perfect for them because they have their own grief and trauma. I want to make the holidays so perfect for them. I still struggle with, did I get them enough? Like,
Mhm.
oh, like I hate being in that sense too, because I'm like, I know that the gifts aren't the thing, but then I still struggle with like, yeah, it's just a struggle.
It is.
It's still a
One,
struggle.
I mean, well, and that too, that, kind of works into, I don't know, this guilt that we carry, especially, having surviving children. I mean, in terms of the loss and wanting to, especially ones that are, were involved, like Mallory was involved. And I remember that first Christmas. I mean, and you and I are just a week apart in
Hmm.
our anniversaries, if you will.
Yeah.
So we kind of share a very similar timeline, almost identical. But I remember that first Christmas, we had gone back to Indiana because we were, still living at Florida or in Florida at the time. And we went back to Indiana, and Jordan and I think it was more for us than it was for her, for Mallory, but we went to a local big box store that's in the Midwest. And we just, I mean, up and down every toy aisle and just threw stuff in the cart, and I still do struggle. It's very interesting. You mentioned that for Christmas with the experiences versus buying gifts, because um we shifted actually last year to doing the same thing. And it's very interesting because I am curious to know what some of the new traditions are that you guys have created, or maybe some of after your experiences, or with the trauma in the past. um, I know for us, we also started last year. So my birthday being on January 1st, it's never been the same since Logan passed. I mean, never, because it's not only the first day of the year, so it's another year removed without him, but it's also my birthday. And I'm like, I don't fucking want to celebrate this because I'm missing my child. But last year we decided to take the girls to a wellness resort in Mexico. And that was the first year we've traveled around Christmas. I mean, ever, with the family, outside of going back to Indiana that first year in 2016. But I don't count that as a vacation, right? That was not a vacation. Um, but so last year we decided to take them down to Mexico, and it was amazing. And we were there for my birthday, and this place, so it's a wellness resort, but it allows children as well. So it worked in very, very well. And I had an amazing, profound, life-changing experience in one of the in a forgiveness meditation. I've talked about that before on the podcast, but um that was the first time. I mean, they had this huge party on New Year's Eve. And I think that was the first time in a very, very long time that I actually was happy to celebrate my birthday. And in fact, we had such a great time. We're going back again and doing the same thing. Um, yeah, this year. So, and that's a tradition, I think, that we've decided that, we're not the girls, of course, aren't happy when I say, you know, well, I mean, I still have a 6-year-old, so I still have to talk about Santa, but, Santa's bringing one gift and we're going to get you a couple of things, but we want the experience, right? We want to do things with you. We don't want you to have just copious amounts of crap, which they already do. And I mean, it's like, what do you get
They
someone?
don't
Well,
need anything.
they don't, and that's the
Or
thing.
want from
Yep.
anything.
I mean, Mila gets all the hand-me-downs from Mallory, so I'm like, I don't
Noah
need to
too.
buy her anything, and, um, I mean, they're just content. She's just content playing the Nintendo, so I think that's great. And so that being said, with the new tradition, what are some of your guys's new traditions that, or favorite traditions, or something that, I mean, and we kind of briefly talked about that, right? But um, I think it would be really interesting to hear something very mindful. If there's something outside of that's already been said, something very mindful and with meaning that, you purposefully have set for yourself or your family, um, to move forward in this journey.
I have one. I can say that for us, we were a very tradition oriented family as well. And so that was something that I always looked forward to, becoming a mom, carrying that on, starting our new traditions as a family. And then after experiencing any kind of trauma, it feels like a hole. And I was over that, and like Mel said, those early years, the first and second Christmases, same thing. I was a zombie. And then I kind of found myself having to sneak into the bathroom and have a little bit of a moment. And I would, head upstairs for a little bit so I didn't offend anybody with my grief. And I kind of felt like I was trying not to bring the mood down for the boys or the family that was over. And so I thought, wow, I'm putting all this pressure on myself to like keep it up and keep moving. And so I think what we've decided, and I don't know if we can call it tradition, but permission to do whatever we want. So some years we're home for Christmas morning and it feels really warm, and we've started the cinnamon rolls and that kind of thing. We have the ornaments. And then some years are just freaking hard. Like they're just hard years, and I don't have it in me to host. I don't have it. And so there are times where we load up the truck and off we go, and wherever we land is where we land. And so we've been known to spend the entire Christmas break or fall break just bouncing around from the Carolinas to the, Georgia, and that's really warm too. So I think we've decided that our thing is to do whatever we need in that season, because I put a lot of pressure on myself to make it fit, like to whatever the picture was supposed to look like. And that's not happening. That doesn't happen. And you're never left less fulfilled than when you try to make it work and it doesn't. So we adjust and do what feels right with zero apologies. So our family understands that, like, we'll see you on the flip side, Happy New Year. We'll call you when we get back, and that's got to be okay. And that feels so empowering, because I think anybody that has experienced trauma is like, you don't want to offend anybody with your problems. After 5 years, you should be fine, So we've kind of taken our power back and do what's right for us. And however the shoe fits each year is kind of how we roll.
That's great. Yeah.
I love that, Linz.
Uh-huh.
I love that so much because, we, like I was talking about Thanksgiving, and that this is a topic for another day, but we don't have the relationship with the majority of Leon's family like we used to. And so, and then it's just me and my brother, and my brother is almost 8 years younger than me. And I have the most perfect, adorable nieces, but they're babies. Like my oldest niece just turned 9 and the baby is 2. So, or 3. Oh gosh, they're going to kill me when I listen to this. But, so the boy and my boys are much older, 12, 16 and 18. So being in a situation where they were surrounded by so many cousins, and then leaving, not having that dynamic anymore, the boys have just, and I think too, especially for Brody being 5 and kind of feeling like his family fell apart, that boy yearns for connection and family. And when I made the decision a few years ago to be unapologetic and do what I feel like we needed to do in the 4 walls of my house, I know that, feelings were hurt, and I know that, people feel left out, and that is certainly not my intention at all, to feel like I'm excluding people from, my Thanksgiving plans or anything. But I think what you said is so important, because we do what we need to do for our nuclear family and our house for that particular holiday. And I do, like, I'm getting a little emotional, because I do feel, I feel guilt about that every year, but I'm not going to anymore. No. I'm not going to, because we do that, and we have created this sense of family for the boys, and And for myself, that is so amazing. And it doesn't take away from the dynamics that we have with other family members. It's equally as fantastic and amazing. But that holiday for us, you know, formulating that and doing what we need to do for ourselves has been so therapeutic in ways that we didn't realize until, you know, recently. And I'm not going to feel sorry about that anymore.
And that's really a very important concept for all people to hear. It's that you have created healthy and acceptable boundaries for you and your children, and your nuclear family. There are a lot of expectations, you know, especially after the loss, some sort of loss or divorce, or there are just these expectations. But I don't think it's just expectations that other people have, right? It's also the guilt that creates expectations on ourselves of, well,
Absolutely.
we have to do this and we have to do that. But as long as we have those expectations, and as long as we don't set those healthy boundaries, then we suffer more, right? And there's so much freedom and there is so much more life that can be breathed in and added to all of these hard things if we just allow ourselves to say, no. And the beauty of it is that no is a complete sentence. It doesn't have to come with an explanation. You don't owe anybody an explanation. The only person you owe an explanation to is yourself. And what are you doing and how are you taking care of yourself and, your nuclear family and the process of all of these things. Everybody else, it's just, they're not living within your life. They're not living in your head, in your body, and you don't owe it to anyone. So creating those boundaries is important.
Yeah.
Michelle, I am curious because, I don't know. I don't know how many people actually put together the idea of divorce as loss and grief, especially for the children. Um, so I mean, I know that, when you, divorced your children's father, that, there was so much, that came for you. And I'm curious, um, what were the holidays like or moving forward after the divorce for your boys? Because that is loss and that is grief. And, just as we sit here and we go, oh, well, the holidays aren't the same for us. And we're doing all of these new things because we've lost a husband or a child. You essentially did lose your husband and the boys essentially did lose their father. I mean, in a sense, right? And
Yeah.
in a different sense, but still um, it's still life changing. And, I'm curious to know how that played in to something such as the holidays, how that shifted, how that changed, and what you did along the way, along your healing path to maybe reform or reshape how you spent that time with the boys, how you celebrated with the boys. And also I am
Yeah.
curious what it looks like on that end in terms of holidays, because I assume you probably split the holidays, right, with him. And if so, that also is kind of a loss because then you don't get to spend these important days all the time with the boys.
Yeah, it is a really good question that a lot of people don't think about when they're thinking of, divorce and what that means, obviously for the kids, but for everyone else in the family, right?
Mhm.
So we were from Indiana. We got divorced here in Florida. And the agreement was we would alternate the holidays. So this year I would have him on Thanksgiving. He would have him on Christmas. Next year it would be the flip flop. And when we got divorced, the boys were still younger. So it wasn't like they had a say so. That
Mhm.
definitely changed as they got older and got more opinionated. But I remember that first Thanksgiving, um, he actually took the boys, and I believe he spent it with Dave and Mel,
He
and
did.
their boys away. And
So timeout. I
I,
don't think you shared, or we've all shared
oh,
that that
Whoopsie.
that Michelle's ex-husband is my current husband's brother. Whoa. I know. Yeah.
Oh, how it all comes together. That's right.
Boom. I know. And again, that's a different story for a whole nother day. But I feel like it's important when people are like, wait, why was Michelle's ex-husband with Mel and her husband? Sorry, Shell.
No, that is a very good point
Whoa.
that could be addressed.
Meet you
Mind
back
blown.
here next Friday for that.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm looking right now. Not if we do that, it's not at this time because can you see like the glow? The
Oh,
sun's
yeah.
coming up
Yeah.
here, and I'm like, Andreas is gonna kill me because all my lighting's screwed. And so if I sit over here, we've got this thing going on back there. So
Yeah. So
just-
sorry, Shell. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just thought that might be important.
Yeah. We just dropped that bomb. Yes. So that first Thanksgiving, he had taken the boys and spent the Thanksgiving, and I was alone. I was completely alone. And I was so sad. The heartbreak that I felt, I couldn't travel to Indiana. I had $0. So travel was not even in the possibility. And I decided, okay, it's just a day. Just because like today is a day that the whole country is all with their family. Don't feel sorry for yourself. It's just a day. They'll be back. And I'm going to make it right for Christmas. Right. And so we had a lot of inconsistencies about traditions, right, that we're talking about. But eventually my boys got to the point where I think one year for Christmas, their dad took them to Mexico and they were supposed to be in Mexico on Christmas. And the boys were like, no, I want my mom. And so they ended up coming home early because it just didn't feel right. Even though Mexico vacation is wonderful, it wasn't the tradition and the holidays. So eventually I just had to establish, okay, what traditions are important to me? And even if we can't do them on the said day, we're going to make them happen. And we eventually got to the point where Christmas Eve service at church is my most favorite special time ever with my boys from the time they were like babies on my shoulder. And so, their dad and I were able to work that out. Like, as long as I can have Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas Eve service, anything else, we'll figure it out. And so eventually that's what we did. But it's really hard for divorced parents, mom and dad, right, to have to experience the holidays without their kids because, that's what family is. But eventually, as the boys got older, they started to have a say-so in what they wanted to do, where they wanted to be and who they wanted to be with. And honestly, their dad and I kind of flexed and we made it work and there was no real issue. I think for my boys, mom is home. And so whatever it was that mom was doing, they wanted to do that. And then certainly, traveling home to Indiana to see my grandparents, see their auntie and their cousins, their uncle, that is still really special to them. But when we got intentional about it not having to be on the said holiday, we were able to just really relax and enjoy it because Christmas is stressful, right? All the places and the things. But when we can be intentional about the time that we're spending, everybody is just more relaxed and happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's so important, Shell, because when we decided to go to the lake for Thanksgiving, last year was the first year that I said to my mom and dad, who I'm very close with, and my brother also very close with, just that we don't have to celebrate Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
We can celebrate being thankful for all of the things and being a family on November, whatever, or October, whatever. It doesn't have to necessarily be that day. And so we have started doing that as well, just celebrating us as a family, just not on that particular day because we're doing what we need to do for my four walls on that day. So I think that's so important to know that you can still celebrate, but just because it may not land on the exact calendar date doesn't mean that it's not equally as special or important.
Another point I wanted to say, Brooke, is I am remarried, right? And Mel could speak to this because then when you get married again, then there's a new person and their traditions and their family and trying to envelop how that works for the future. And that was a whole adjustment in and of itself, like me wanting to still have my traditions. The boss lady in this house, right? And I make it happen. Like I'm doing all the things. And then to marry into a family where there's other strong women and they have their traditions, and trying to figure out like, where can I lead? Where do they lead? And how do we come together? And I think, Paul and I have been married for 7 years, and I think we've figured it out. But it wasn't the easiest. And that's a whole nother topic, right? Like,
Well, no, but I am curious though to know, because that is a very good point. Because you have integrated into this new family, and like, how did the boys react with all of these changes? I mean, it sounds like you had remind me, how long between divorce and becoming remarried? How many years?
uh, 3 years,
Trick question.
three, 3 years.
3 years. So,
Mhm.
that's not necessarily, in terms of longevity, that's really not that long, but even in those 3 years, they had adapted to this new sense, right? So they had all these years, they had, mom and dad and the holidays, and then 3 years, and they were getting into this new routine, and I want my mom, right? This is how Christmas is. They were developing those own traditions for themselves. And then to jump into, another big change. How did they respond to that?
Yeah. Well, before I talk about how they responded, I have to say that Paul's family, I have to give it to them, because Paul is 11 years younger than I am. So their family totally was so accepting of, okay, here's this woman that our boy is married, like their favorite prize boy. Well, sorry, Danny, he's not the favorite. I think he has a brother. But they're said he was the first, he's the oldest. He was the first to get married, right? And they were very accepting of him marrying this older woman with a lot of baggage, a lot of extra, and these two boys. But they were fantastic about the boys, right? They're like, okay, what, two more boys? Like, we know about boys. And so they welcomed them in. And that's really important. I think where there was struggle in the connection over the years, it was me. It was my angst. It was my stress and me feeling that unworthiness. Like, am I good enough? Like, do they wish he was with someone his own age and having babies, because that was out of the question for me. So that's my own ick that I brought to it. But my boys actually were really good about it, right? Paul's family is big. They're fun. They love to eat. They love to play games. And so we spent our time doing that together. And of course, they became teenagers and they're like, oh, this is not ideal. But now as they're older and they're coming into young adulthood, they're intentional also about the time that they get to spend with Paul's family. So it's like all things, it takes time, right? It's
Mhm.
some years we were on and it felt great, and some years like something was off, and we just grow and we learn from each other and we give each other grace.
That's great.
Yep.
I do love hearing that. It is for people out there who are, just like, maybe this is their first holiday season without someone, or, post divorce, or, anything of that nature that creates the loss, the grief, the change, right? For 35 years of my life, I was like, these are my traditions. We started traditions when Logan was, his first year, and we kept going through those traditions, and Mallory came along and she was included in those traditions. And then all of a sudden everything had changed. So whether it's loss or divorce or trauma or any of that, it's not guaranteed for anyone really to continue to have the same experiences year after year. And that being said, in thinking back on, as we start to close up this episode, thinking back on, the first year, the second year, or maybe even just the immediate aftermath. Let's go with the immediate aftermath. What would be some words of encouragement that you would give anyone who's listening right now who might be in this fresh season of some sort of loss or grief as the holidays approach, and things are probably pretty much guaranteed changed. Nothing, it's not the same. It's not the same as it was last year. And what do we do with this? And how should I feel? And what should I do? So what kind of words of encouragement would you ladies have?
I have two.
Go ahead.
Personally, I would say two things. Give yourself permission to rest across the board. I think, like Mel was talking about loading up the cart, and Brooke, you were talking about loading up the cart. We have this energy, right? Call it grief, call it absence, whatever, and we try to project and put it somewhere. Just give yourself permission to rest. Whatever that looks like. If you want to cry, cry. Don't try to appease anybody, and just give yourself permission to rest. There's so much grace there. There's so much power in being able to just rest in whatever space you're in. And also expectations. If you have none, you can't be disappointed. So like we set the bar so high because I think for me, having, Bowen, I didn't want my grief to bring his magic down, especially at the holidays. So I set the bar so high for myself to behave in a certain way, or to perform, or to envelop him with an experience. You can't be disappointed if you have no expectations. So just be authentic, feel what you need to feel. Cause I'll tell you, and I know we've all been there. The first few years are really heavy, and you can't fathom how you're going to survive the day or the season. There is some sort of weird thing that happens, after I don't want to say on the other side of it, because you never get out of it. But there is a time where you're sitting under the tree and you feel genuine joy again.
Mm-hmm.
The loss isn't gone. You haven't forgotten, but the veil has been lifted and the morning feels a little brighter. And so I would just say, anybody who's in that new period, give yourself permission to just rest, and don't place expectations that are just going to set you up to feel disappointed.
I love that, Lindsay. I love that so much. Yeah, I definitely was thinking about, it's okay to walk away. It's okay to take a moment and cry. It's okay to take a nap. I think one of the best pieces of advice that I can give is say no. It's okay to say no. The holidays come with so much obligations, so many holiday parties, so many neighborhood parties, work parties, celebrations, this and that. And you want to say yes. And if you handle grief and stress like me, you want to say yes, you want to go 1,000 miles an hour. But it's okay to say no. It's okay to not go to the party. It's also okay to say yes and then say no.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. And your people who love you will understand that's just not where you are at today. Because there are so many times that I said yes, and it sounded like such a great idea. And then the moment came and I just didn't have the energy. That still happens, honestly. But it's okay to say yes and then say, you know what, I just can't. So that's my biggest advice. Don't overbook yourself. It's okay to say no. Rest and the same thing that Lindsay said. The darkness and the sadness that I felt that first holiday season after he died was darker than any darkness that I cannot even, it's a darkness that I couldn't imagine people could have before I had it. No movie, no book, no conversation prepares you for that level of darkness and sadness. And I'm sitting here all these years later finding joy in the holidays. I promise you, hold on tight, work through it, go through it, feel every bit of it. Like Lindsay said, there is joy somewhere waiting for you. I promise.
Beautifully said. That's beautiful. And, again, just to reiterate, no is a complete sentence, right?
Mhm.
Again, the expectations, but that goes for yourself. It is okay to allow yourself, for you, to say no as well, and to have grace in that, and have, limited expectations for yourself, especially in the beginning, because you're not going to have the energy. You're not going to have the energy. You're not going to have the desire. And that's okay. It's just part of the process. But like what you two have said, there is a time it gets lighter and lighter, I believe, with each year that passes. And there will be that time where you will start to, have joy again and find joy. And will it look the same? Probably not. And it's a new part of you, but you have to be able to listen to yourself, remove the guilt that anybody might put on you, set those boundaries, and allow yourself to say no. No, nope, nope. And that's
It's
it.
okay.
There is no explanation needed. Yep. Michelle, what about you?
I don't have anything extra in addition to what you all have said, other than it's okay to not be okay. Like it's
Mhm. That's
allowing yourself to
great.
just say, I'm not good today, and that's okay. Or I'm not good in this hour or this minute, this moment. And um the rest, right? Right. Give yourself the time to rest and acknowledge. I think acknowledging what we're feeling instead of being in that go mode, like Mel was talking about, it is taking that power back to say, I'm not okay and that's all right, but I'm going to be better in an hour. I'll be better tomorrow. And maybe you will, maybe you won't, but taking it in strides and giving yourself permission, like she said.
Beautiful. Oh, I love it. Oh, ladies,
Yeah.
this has been awesome. Thank you for sharing the space with me. And, in the very, very first Brooke as solo host podcast, and the very first
You
panel
did great.
podcast.
Yay!
Oh, I'm not going to listen to this one. I'm
Yeah.
going to let
It's been
everybody else
really
listen
good.
Yes,
to
you
it.
should.
No, it's not going to happen.
No, no, no.
Nope, not going to happen. I am super excited though to have you guys back. The other topic that really we've been wanting to address, is how do you, um, move forward and experience or re-experience life events after loss or after a divorce. So for example, getting remarried, or having another child. I know that is a very hot topic that we all want to talk about. And I know our listeners will want to glean some information by. We don't have time to do that today, but I would love to have you guys back and that be our next topic.
Love it.
If you guys are interested, that would be wonderful. So stay tuned for that. We will have Michelle and Lindsay and Melanie back very soon. Not this early in the morning. It is only 8:15 here. And, and we have gotten to see the sun rise throughout the entire time in the background of my video. So we'll try not to do it that early, but any last words you guys want to share before we wrap up?
Thank
No,
you.
thank you.
No,
Thank you for
no,
giving us
thank
this
you.
opportunity.
No, absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you. And I very much look forward to the next topic, the topic on, I don't know, what would you call it? It's not a redo. I don't know. What
Chapter
would be
2,
what
chapter whatever.
chapter 1,900,000
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like
six,
I think it's
seven.
like rebuilding your life, right? Like it's
Mhm.
not. It's just rebuilding. How to
Yep.
rebuild.
Love it. I love it. All right. Well, until next time, guys, thank you for joining. Thank you guys for listening. And again, if you have any comments, questions, want to know more about the first annual Trauma Uncensored podcast retreat, or want to be a guest on the show, please email us at hello@traumauncensored.com. Till next time. Bye.
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 Bye.